partners too. All you'll do if you increase the troops in Afghanistan is alienate more of the population. International troops should withdraw or certainly change their approach in terms of pursuing the Taliban. I think negotiations with the Taliban are the only hope of any kind of peaceful solution.
That was independent journalist Nir Rosen on Democracy Now! Last October. It was that conversation that was cited in the Rendon U.S. military report. Colonel Shanks, is the U.S. military monitoring Democracy Now!
We look at all sources that are on the Internet and try to pull in whatever is applicable to us. We'll probably miss a whole bunch, but we try to get as many as we can. Obviously, we'll look at, some more of the larger outlets because more people obviously look or view with those, but we'll try to get as many as we can so we can kind of get a gauge on how we're doing.
It's interesting, when we talked to Charlie Reed at Stars and Stripes, the reporter who broke the story, she said that one of Stars and Stripes' own reporters were profiled and rejected. Nir Rosen, you actually were accepted despite the negative rating by the Rendon U.S. military of your coverage of Afghanistan. What is your feeling, your attitude toward this profiling?
I think for a journalist, perhaps my position would be surprising. I think it's normal for the military to do this. I think it's just a job of a public affairs officer. What struck me as odd was that they would hire this expensive public relations firm to do it. But surely any, I'm sort of sympathetic to the military's position in the sense that any large organization that is inviting so much scrutiny from the media, of course, is going to want to know who it's dealing with. And the U.S. military is not a media organization, it's not a public affairs organization. They have a mission to accomplish, and that mission often, the U.S. government in general, the truth isn't necessarily what they're after, what they're trying to promote. And journalists can get in the way of that. And there's a tension between my job and their job, and I think that's normal and natural in a free country. So I'm not surprised that, and it's been a sort of a well-known fact in Iraq that public affairs officers would just Google you and they see what you did. And I think within Kabul, we've all known that about these Rendon reports. We just never really talked about it. It didn't seem like such a big deal. And as I think, as you said, the U.S. military did indeed allow me to embed, despite many of my controversial articles, and despite some of the concern that they had here and there. I haven't really had very many bad experiences with them. They do seem quite open, as long as the military perceives that you're going to be sort of fair to the soldiers, that you're not, in a way, anti-soldier. If you're critical of the mission itself or the way it's being implemented, to be fair to them, they do still allow you to embed. My positions on the war in Iraq and Afghanistan are fairly well known, and yet I have been invited more than once. And
a public affairs officer told you that it was the most alarming report he had read of a journalist?
Their concern, among others, was that I was going to disembed and then wander off and hang out with the Taliban, which is not an easy thing to do. You can't just go knock on their door and ask if you can hang out with them. But there was that concern, and it was in the report that I would pursue. I forget exactly how it was worded. So they did ask me to please stay with the American troops and not go join the Taliban.
And Colonel Shanks, so the Rendon Group is no longer working with the U.S. military in Afghanistan effective today, is that correct?
We have requested that their contracts be terminated. I can't tell you exactly the date because it's in contracting channels. I'm not the contracting officer. I've just requested that it be terminated.
And who will be doing their work? Will the U.S. military now do its own profiles of journalists in Afghanistan?
Well, I mean, I have media monitors that monitor what news reporting is out there, and they send me reports on a daily basis. That work still continues. It just doesn't happen to be with the Rendon Group.
So all contracts are now ended with the Rendon Group?
I can only speak to U.S. forces out in Afghanistan.
Well, Colonel Wayne Shanks, we want to thank you very much for being with us, Public Affairs Officer for US and NATO Forces in Afghanistan, and Nir Rosen as well, independent journalist, fellow at the NYU Center on Law and Security. He just came back from Afghanistan, where he was embedded. I want to thank you both for being with us as we turn now from Afghanistan to a breaking story in Japan.